front style.
Uma ameaça foi detectada. Uma ameaça foi detectada.
Uma ameaça foi detectada. Uma ameaça foi detectada.
Is going to be my 50-mile review for the boosted Mini X. I am actually currently sitting at 64.8, we'll call it 65 miles of riding on the board, and so far so good. She got used to it quicker than I expected. I still do miss having a longboard though, just because of the ease of use and like peace of mind that comes with having all that deck real estate versus having this 30 to 35 inch board or whatever the spec comes in at, compared to that full length that you get out of the longboard. And like I was talking about in the last video, where you have more room to play around with your balance and you don't really have to be as mindful of it really, which, you know, isn't a huge deal. It's a very easy board to get used to. I don't really have any complaints. The one complaint that I will say is I think the board is advertised to charge from dead to full at an hour-and-a-half time frame. If that is the case, I will fact check myself, but in my experience, I've been trying to ride the board from full to 0% every time that I ride, and the last time that I rode, it took a little over 2 hours to charge from a completely dead battery at 0%. So that's a little frustrating, you know, for people like me who are impatient, but then to throw an extra half hour on top of that to get back to a full battery to continue riding kind of sucks. But I guess, you know, that's the benefit of going with the extended range, is that you have a longer distance before you would actually need to charge. So you do have that going in your favor. If anybody has a boosted Mini S and has tested to see how long those charge, I'd be very interested to know what the difference is in time comparisons and how that's been working out for you guys. But other than that, you know, I do love that if you keep the board turned on and connected to your app, it will tell you when it's done charging, so you don't have to, you know, sit by or keep coming back and checking to see if the board is charging, you know, waiting like a kid during Christmas sort of deal. You can get a notification straight to your phone, and I think it even will go to the watch too. I haven't really noticed it on the watch yet, something I'll have to look out for, but nonetheless, you get a notification saying, hey, your board's done, which is really dope. Other than that, the range estimates that the app gives you are really true. Shout out to Boosted for that, because that is huge. Range anxiety is a really big thing. I did have to kick back home the other day, which I will say is another thing that I was surprised about. A lot of people will tell you that kicking a belt-driven board is the worst thing that ever happened, and honestly, so I was doing another range test a week ago, and I misjudged how long I think I had like a half mile left, and I took an extra lap on this loop that I was doing rather than just going straight back, because I wanted to make sure I got back at 0, and I misjudged it, so I had to kick back for probably about a half mile, and it wasn't the worst experience I've ever had. The board still coasts pretty well. And I don't know if it's a placebo effect or not, but in my experience so far, I found that if you continue to engage the throttle, I feel like it pushes a little bit easier and coasts a little bit better. I'm not really 100% sure if that's factual or not, but at least in my mind, it makes it a little bit easier. All that's to say, push come to shove, no pun intended, if you do have to take it back and kick the board home, it's not that bad. But if you've ever like dribbled a regular basketball and then like weighted basketball and then gone back, it's night and day, you know. There's an obvious difference there, but it's not so bad to where it's like, I'd rather pick it up and walk back wherever you're going. It's manageable. The glide or the free rolling ability is obviously going to be diminished compared to if you didn't have a motor strapped to your board, but it's not bad. Other than that though, the range estimates are really good on the boosted app. Like I was saying, it allows you to put your weight and your anticipated ride style. And I have used the boosted app, I've used the ride app, and Strava, all to track the range that I was getting out of the board. And boosted has been off very few times, and if they were, it was off by 1/10 of a mile, which is completely negligible, especially seeing how I was coming home the other day and the board was on 0%, right? So completely dead, but it was still accelerating for me to get me home that last 300 to 400 feet into my driveway and accelerating. So while I was at 0 across the board was still pushing for me, because I had like I wouldn't say a decline at all, but it wasn't an uphill. It was close to being pretty flat land, and I was still able to get home just fine with a little bit of power left in the board to push me forward at speed. You know, I was riding in the pro mode, pushing it. That's my favorite way to ride, honestly. My only real debate right now is how bad do I miss the longboard? You know, I may need to borrow a friend's longboard. One of my friends just got a Blitzart. I want to see if he'll let me borrow that so I can do a review of that board for you guys and give you my thoughts and opinions on that. But I also want to get a ride in on it so I can see, like, do I need to go back to a longboard? Because I keep saying how I miss it, you know? So maybe it's just I miss the thought of it because it's, you know, nostalgia sort of deal. Maybe I am a shortboard guy now and I'm just not ready to admit it sort of deal. But I'm gonna see if I can borrow his board, do a review for you guys, and see if I just need that longboard back in my life. But as far as the Mini X goes, 65 miles into it, I'm loving it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.